I know you gonna dig this.
Get funky with me.
How you doing today? Welcome to the tiny town of Linden, Michigan, north of Detroit, about an hour. Beautiful up here. It's September, it's really green, it's just a lot of lakes I passed, and you can see from like the water tower I showed you, I was just thinking, and like the American flags and all that. It's a very small town, America, and just it's really cool. And this is a small cemetery with beautiful headstones. There's one right here with a cat on it. Can you see right there? And right there, like just in the shape of a cat. So some really cool stuff. So like figurines. Usually small town cemeteries are like this. They have nice giant plots, headstones, because there's room for the giant headstones and giant plots, and just really sweet to see a lot of these. And I believe the headstone I'm showing you is going to just be a flat one, which is rare here, as you can see around me. They're all above ground headstones, but I believe this one is a flat one. I'm here visiting the grave of Max Wright. Now, his name may not be familiar to you, but when I say the TV show Alf, a lot of you will probably remember him. He was Willie. Go for it, Willie! He was the father on Alf. Now, Alf ran for 4 seasons, 1986 to 1990. And Max Wright, who played Willie Tanner, he had quite an interesting life. I'm going to tell you more about it. The part that's interesting is, I don't know. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to explain it. Because I don't want to give any disrespect to Max Wright, but it's definitely interesting when you read about his off-camera exploits. It's not something you would expect. He was born in Detroit, then he moved up to Southfield, which is about 50 minutes right outside Detroit, a suburb there. And in high school, he was heavily involved in theater, and he had a love of acting. And let's go try to find Max Wright, who is here somewhere, and I'll tell you more about his life. Then we'll get into the other parts of Max Wright's life that you may not know about. Let's go. Now, I'm not sure if I'm on the right side or not. He could be here, or he could be on the opposite side. But I'm going to take a look around here. The pin from Find a Grave it brought me right around here, and I'm just kind of looking. But he was on a lot of shows. He was on Friends. He was the manager of Central Perk for the first season, and I think the second season too. And he was on he was in Stephen King's The Stand, AfterMASH, Buffalo Bill, a lot of those classic 80s shows, Misfits of Science. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing a video on him is I'm a big Howard Stern listener, and especially the classic years, I guess you could call them, with Artie Lang. So Artie Lang was on a podcast not too long ago, and with Jay Moore, who was on Saturday Night Live, and they were talking about the Norm show, Norm Macdonald show, that Artie was a part of. And Max Wright was on that show. So he mentioned Max Wright, and then Jay Moore said, didn't he get into some trouble at some point? And then Artie's like, oh yeah, that was during the show. Now, it's an odd thing, because he was married, he had 2 kids, he had a very devoted wife, so and all the on the outside, like a typical family man. But I guess it was in the 90s, the National Enquirer got a hold of a video of Max Wright, and it was a sex tape of Max Wright, and he was smoking crack from a homemade pipe and engaged in sex with 2 other men. Hey, whatever, No, I'm certainly not giving any judgment on that. The crack, I don't do crack. But it's not something anybody expected from the father from Alf, to say the least. So Artie was talking about when that scandal dropped while he was on the Norm show. And who knew? And there was a lot of because he kind of retired from acting for a he retired, not for a long time, he retired. You didn't see him for so long, and then, he's going to be in a few things. All of a sudden, the National Enquirer, who was, not the most, there's his grave right there, I just see it, not the most scrupulous, they don't have it's a National Enquirer. They don't give a crap who they hurt, when they post stuff and what it could mean for their families or for the person themselves. But Max Wright, he was a big stage actor. He had a huge stage career. He was on Broadway. He had Tony nominations. He was in different Shakespeare performances, Merchant of Venice, Winter's Tale. Now, he did have lymphoma in 1995, which he beat. He was in remission until 2019, and then he died from lymphoma. And he died at an actor's home, Lillian Booth Actor Home. It was in New Jersey. And what that is lots of times, because actors, as much money as you think they make, oftentimes, if you don't get work again for a long time, or if you say you retire and your money's not saved, put in investments or your retirement fund, that money only lasts while you're on the show. I was just talking about this with somebody else, with a friend of mine, about an actor they know, a successful actor who's been in a few movies. And I said, well, they don't do much nowadays. I said, well, that money's probably gone, because you get 1 or 2 maybe successful movies, you get some money from it, sure, but that's gotta last. And if that's all you get, that's gotta last you a whole year or 2 years, 3 years. And I don't know how much Max was making on Alf. And then he did a lot of stage work. And like I said, he was on different sitcoms and stuff. So he's making good money. But that money, taxes, managers, and then the cost of living. So they have actors' homes that are set up for former actors, where it's like a retirement home, but it's for former actors. And it kind of helps them out with the bills. But unfortunately, it was lymphoma that eventually took his life on June 26, 2019. So here's Max right here. He's at the top here. Son, George E. Wright, Max, 1943 to 2019. This is son, Terry A. Wright, 1952, still alive. That's his brother. And then here we have Max's mother, Donna, and her another son, Dennis C. Wright, and that's Max's brother as well. I believe there are 3 sons. And I don't know what this is here that I'm seeing. I see it on both ways, like a barcode, like to scan it. I've never seen that before. It's to scan if you want that monument. Like it's to the monument company. I've never seen that in all my travels. So if you come out and visit a grave, you can scan that and say, hey, I'd like one like that too. So of course I did bring a rock out for Max. It's a small one there. Now, it's another interesting thing about Max was he eventually grew to accept his fame as, the father from Alf. But he was not too happy. Like I said, he was a trained actor. He was a serious stage actor, and then he got a role playing father on a sitcom. And it's kind of, let's be honest here. I don't know if I'm going to offend any Alf fans. Sorry about that. I just walked back to my car to get my mic. I realized I wasn't using my external mic with the windsock on it. I was just talking, and I don't know how that sound's going to come out. I hope it comes out okay, but it should be a little different now. So Max was on Alf, and I don't think anybody really ever says Alf is my favorite show of all time. There might be some people that say that. That's no problem. Alf might be your favorite show of all time. But it was known as generally a cheesy sort of sitcom, right? I don't remember much of it, to be honest. I know I watched it, and I know Alf liked to eat cats, and go for it, Willie! That was his catchphrase. There's not much else. It wasn't heavy Shakespearean drama like Max would have wanted to do. But it's a role's a role for an actor, so he took it. But he did not like the idea of playing second fiddle, the straight man to an inanimate object, is what the quote is. He did not like it at all. And apparently when the show was canceled in 1990, he just walked off the set, no goodbyes, nothing, just left. And in later years, he grew to accept it and somewhat enjoyed the notoriety because he knew that the show brought joy to a lot of people, which it did. There's nothing wrong with escapism and mindless entertainment. And Alf kind of is the ultimate escapism, If you look at Alf, you're not watching a Scorsese film. It's a little different. But yeah, Max Wright had quite an interesting life. Now, one thing I know is so this all happened, the scandal happened in the 90s, and he had a couple of DUIs, 2001, 2003, around there. And his wife got him into a 12-step program to try to straighten him out, but eventually she did leave him. And there are photos floating around, like, how they do that, look, you won't believe what this actor looks like now. You won't believe what, stuff like that. And they did some of Max Wright. He's just wearing, like, sweats and stuff, and outside of his house, it looks to be in California, from the type of house I'm looking at these photos. And people are like, oh, look at how, well, he's an older man, and he's just relaxed taking out his garbage, and you're getting photos of him. What else is he supposed to be wearing a tuxedo? Like, is he supposed to be all done up? He's got long hair, a ponytail, glasses on. People age, they look different. I was just like, when I see those, like, you won't believe what this person looks like now. It's been 20 years or 30 years. People are going to look different. So when the National Enquirer posted, or published, I should say, not posted, is published back in the day. Well, it still is, well, you know what I mean. When they published these stills from this video, it was pretty shocking. And I remember when it was published because it was a big thing. It was a big deal. Looking through it 25 years later, like back then it was like, what? The father from Alf is doing what? With whom? And apparently, with, this is all hearsay. This is all like been reported in the Enquirer and other news outlets. But, with his partner at the time, they were picking up homeless men. And I just, and having, well, I don't like to talk about this, when I'm doing a video about trying to pay attention to someone's life. But this is what I find interesting, is because, okay, he's having orgies, and they're doing drugs, and it's pretty crazy when looking through it back then. Now, like when it happened. But now when I think back now, it was 25 years ago, it's like, who, judge not lest ye be judged, is maybe where I'm going with this. Who knows if it made him happy, if that's what he wanted to do? Is it that big of a scandal? I mean, there's so many different scandals that happen nowadays with a celebrity every day. I guess it was shocking because he was the dad from Alf. But really, I mean, is it I don't know. It's odd that he did this. It's odd that he had this secret life. So I don't know if Max's wife knew he was gay when they were married, or bisexual. I'm not sure which he was. I don't know. I'm not sure if she knew about it, She knew about his life that was going on. She obviously knew about it once those photos were published. But I mean, you see it with celebrities, you see it with regular people. Sometimes people marry someone of the opposite sex, but it's not who they really are. And then they have a secret life, or they repress their feelings. And I guess maybe his wife knew. I'm not sure. But there's no shame. Back in the 90s, of course, like I said, it was a big scandal. It was all this and that. But, you know, there's no shame in it. It's no shame in that at all. Live your best life. The crack part, you know, if that's what you're doing in your private life, what do you say? I mean, you hope people don't do it. It's dangerous. It can kill you. But now it's 25 years later or so, at least. And I just think, wow, the dad from Alf was smoking crack in a video with having a drug-fueled sex orgy. What? Yeah, the dad from Alf. Who knew? So like I said, normally I don't go into those sorts of salacious details about people when I visit their graves, but I thought it was interesting. And I know that when I found out where Max was buried, and I knew I was going to be in Detroit, I thought, well, I'm going to drive that far. And then there was the Artie Lang interview that reminded me about what the scandal that he went through. And then I thought, if I don't mention it, it's going to be my comment section on the video. Whoever watches, it'll be filled with people saying, you didn't mention the sex scandal. So I did. But it's no disrespect to Max Wright. I think he could have had some troubles. I think he cleaned himself up in terms of the drugs. You know, what are we looking at here? 57 plus 19, so 76 years old. Not a bad life. You know, beat lymphoma and then eventually claimed his life again in 2019. It's a long time to live with cancer. So, Max Wright, rest in peace, buddy. And same to your mother and your brother, and I hope your brother lives a long life. And I know Max has 2 kids, and I hope they're thriving as well. And the fact that I mentioned some of the stuff that he went through, it's easily, if you Google Max Wright, those are some of the things that first come up. So it's not like I'm doing a big reveal of or expose on his secret life. The National Enquirer beat me to that about 25 years ago. So, from Linden, Michigan, I'm off somewhere else now, but I'm glad I made the stop here to visit Max. You know what? Live your life, be yourself. I think that's a good takeaway. Don't do drugs. And I mean that, I'm not even joking. Sounds like I am, but I'm not. It's just not worth it. But live your life, be yourself. And if you star in a sitcom with a puppet, hey, enjoy it. You know, and save your money. And Alf's pretty cool. In retrospect, Alf is pretty cool. I should maybe watch a couple of episodes of Alf. Again, it's been a long time. Looking at some of these graves here, there's some young people, 18 years old. And stuff like that is just heartbreaking to see. And a lot of couples buried together. 28 years old. Wow. Some sad stuff. And almost every grave has something at it, which is nice to see. Flowers or a rock right here. Rock right there. And American flags, pinwheels. It's beautiful. Max Wright, rest in peace. And to all of you, love you all. And peace out. I feel like I didn't explain Max Wright's life properly. I've done so many grave videos, but this threw me a bit with adding in this part. But he was a successful actor. He had a scandal in the 90s. You know what? Big deal. Went on, kept acting, and then sadly cancer claimed his life. But he's very popular guy. I'm sure if he was still around, if he was healthy, he'd be doing the convention circuit probably. A lot of people like to meet Alf and Alf's the dad. Mr. Tanner, Willie Tanner. Okay, see you later.